Along the rocky coasts of the western United States, a huge variety of life thrives between the tides. The intertidal is the area along the shore between high and low tide and is divided into various zones according to their exposure to seawater, air, and sun. Because of the unique conditions of each zone and a high competition for space, tons of hardy organisms have specific adaptations and are very sensitive to changes. There are over 1,000 species of invertebrates and algae in the California Rocky Intertidal, and a lot of these organisms depend on each other. Many species of algae provide shelter and structure to invertebrates, while also providing a basis for the food web. As the tide rises, the algae and invertebrates must deal with the increasing impacts of forceful waves. Body design and behavior are nature's answers. Flexibility and flatness allows animals to stay close to the rocks and reduce impact, while seeking shelter amongst algae and rock crevices. Some animals, like mussels and limpets, abandon their mobility so they can stay anchored. As the tide recedes, desiccation becomes the primary concern, as the only water available is ocean spray. Animals that can move head for dense patches of algae or tide pools, while the immobile must simply close up to avoid losing more water. As for seaweeds, some can lose up to 90% of their moisture in a day. To support these organisms, the rocky intertidal ecosystems rely on algae and seaweeds for nutrients and shelter. Generally, the more nitrogen and phosphorus in the seaweed, the tastier and more nutritious it is for the herbivores that eat it. They also tend to be bigger, allowing more organisms to live within it. We decided to explore the biodiversity and ecosystem of Sylvicia compressa delicescens, a brown alga found in the mid-intertidal zone. Which brings us to our study, conducted on Santa Catalina Island, where we had 2 sites, 2 harbors, a tourist town and known pollution threat, and Big Fisherman's Cove, a marine protected area or MPA. MPAs restrict human activity for a conservation purpose, typically to protect natural or cultural resources. To test and compare biodiversity in these areas, we used 2 different sized quadrats. Our small quadrat was used to count the number of invertebrates in a tuft of Sylvicia, such as snails, crabs, and anemones. Our large quadrat helped us quantify the percent cover of the algae in our chosen areas. For example, if our quadrat had 16 squares and 8 of them are filled with Sylvicia, that means Sylvicia covers 50% of the rocks. The survey results showed higher species diversity in 2 harbors, where we found things like copepods, gastropods, and crustaceans. Big Fisherman's Cove had less invertebrates and less Sylvicia. Could this be because we observed higher wave action at Big Fisherman's Cove? Higher wave action could affect the survival of the algae, making it hard for the Sylvicia and the invertebrates that live within it to persist. So what does this mean? Let's look at the bigger picture. Climate change is upon us, and it brings with it rising sea levels, harsher tides, and higher temperatures. All of these things have major impacts on the intertidal zone, making it hard to inhabit. If algae like Sylvicia does not survive, then the organisms that depend on it can't survive either, disrupting the food chains that support the larger fish of the oceans. Despite these challenges, conservation efforts can help restore and maintain the biodiversity in the rocky intertidal.